us now is Ojy Okpe with stories trending around the world.
So excited. Good morning, Dr.
Hello, Tinubus. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good morning, Rufai.
Ojy pepper them.
As always, I'm ready to pepper, but I'm wearing mustard, so we'll see. Missing Ayo today.
Yeah, missing Ayo. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In the United States, Ojy Okpe, the woman accusing former President Donald Trump of rape, gave damning testimony on Wednesday about how she was raped by Trump in 1996 at Bergdorf Goodman in New York. The 79-year-old writer said at first she thought she was helping Trump shop for a woman's lingerie gift when Trump motioned her to a dressing room as they dared each other to try on a see-through bodysuit before he yanked down her tights and raped her. Trump, who was not at the trial, took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to describe Carol's rape claim as fraudulent and a witch hunt. In Kenya, more bodies, including those of children, have been found in shallow graves after a religious leader, Paul Mackenzie, asked his followers to fast to their deaths in order to meet Jesus. Kenyan police on Monday had put the death toll at 73, and now the number of casualties have increased to 98. 8 more bodies of children were exhumed on Wednesday in Shakahola Forest near the pastor's home. In Nigeria, a federal high court in Abuja on Wednesday dismissed the suit filed by Aisha Binani Dahiru, gubernatorial candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Adamawa State, seeking to be affirmed as the winner of the Adamawa State governorship election. The suit was dismissed following a notice of discontinuance filed by Binani through her lawyer on April 16th. Hudu Yunisa Ari, the resident electoral commissioner, had illegally declared Binani as the winner of the election before the collation of results had been concluded. Under sports, Nigerian-American basketball coach Ime Udoka was introduced as the new coach for the Houston Rockets on Wednesday after serving a year-long suspension from Boston Celtics following the disclosure of an inappropriate relationship with a female staffer, the owner of Houston Rockets. Tillman Farita said they are not concerned about the behavior that led to Udoka's year-long suspension from the Celtics and insist that Udoka deserves a second chance. The 45-year-old who took the Celtics to the NBA Finals in his only season there takes over from Steven Silas, who was fired after 3 dreadful seasons. Finally, on our entertainment, 3-time Oscar winner Meryl Streep on Wednesday won one of Spain's most prestigious awards in the arts, the Princess of Austria's Award. The €50,000 award is one of 8 prizes covering the arts, communication, science, and other areas that are handed out annually by the foundation, named after Spanish Crown Princess Leonor, the 73-year-old actress who has won multiple accolades, including 3 Oscars for her work in Kramer vs. Kramer, Sophie's Choice, and The Iron Lady, will be conferred the award during the ceremony, which will take place in October in the northern Spanish city of Oviedo.
Well, let's begin what's trending. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the just concluded elections, Atiku Abubakar, has responded to a preliminary objection opposing the petition he filed, challenging Bola Ahmed Tinubu as winner of the presidential election. Tinubu, in the preliminary objection, described the former vice president as a serial loser who has been consistently contesting and losing successive presidential elections in Nigeria since 1993. Atiku, in response, admitted that he has been contesting presidential elections since 1993, but has a drug-free record and has never had controversies surrounding his age, state of origin, gender, educational qualification, health status, working career, and citizenship, all issues bordering on the constitutional qualification to contest for the office of the President of Nigeria. Atiku further accused Tinubu of committing perjury by not disclosing to INEC his voluntary acquisition of the citizenship of the Republic of Guinea, in addition to his Nigerian citizenship. Atiku then gave notice to Tinubu in his petition to produce the original copies of his said 2 passports. Dr. Abate, I want to come to you on this story because I believe that you and Rufai interviewed Nigeria's former Attorney General of the Federation, Andwaka, and he did mention that the issue of dual citizenship may not even come to the limelight because, as he knows, the petitions did not include the dual citizenship case. But now Atiku has responded to Tinubu's objection and has added that issue of citizenship. I'd like for you to just quickly respond to that.
Mr. Andwaka ACN, who made the point very clear. One, it was not originally part of the petition. Okay, if they raise the issue, the court will look at it. But as I've said, it's of no issue, it's of no moment. Sections 25 to 29 under Chapter 3 of the 1999 Constitution provides the details as to citizenship. And to the extent that the Nigerian Constitution further recognizes dual citizenship, then of course it will be difficult to prove that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a Nigerian. The issue here is that if you are born in Nigeria, or if either of your 2 parents is born in Nigeria, then of course you can be president of Nigeria. The only condition whereby you cannot be president is if you acquired your citizenship by naturalization, or maybe if you had renounced your original citizenship. So I don't see how anybody will push the case that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a naturalized citizen of Nigeria seeking to be president, and or push that he was not born here, or either his parents was not born here, or that he has renounced his citizenship.
Well,
so that is the big issue there.
My main question for you, since you are a lawyer, I think the bone of contention is the idea of the perjury and the fact that, now that Atiku has brought it into his petition, I just want to know, to just give me an idea if that would even be looked at.
Yeah, on perjury, I've also said, look, perjury is not something you pronounce into existence. It's only a court of law that can determine that. And perjury can be oral, it can be written, but you have to go to a court of law to go and prove it. And, I think under Section 117, it even says that you have to the court has to issue an arrest warrant for that person who has perjured. And with regard to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this same issue of perjury was brought up when he became governor of Lagos State in 1999. Okay, and that case, I think, was led by the inimitable Gani Faweime. And he went to court, and the court ruled that that matter was already overtaken by events because at that time, Bola Tinubu had become governor. Under Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution, he is entitled to immunity. Sometime last year, some lawyers also went to Federal High Court, Abuja, talking about this same perjury. But that case, has not been determined up to now. The same president-elect has moved into Defense House. He's already preparing to be inaugurated on May 29. Once he is inaugurated on that May 29, you cannot bring the issue of perjury against him in his, in his capacity as president of Nigeria. Right. But of course, if you file a petition, you will expect also that there will be responses. And what the APC has done is to respond to the petitions. But the court will only look at the substance, of what your petition is and then reach a decision on that. So for that, we will have to go back to the details in the petitions, in the notices of preliminary objection, and in the cross petitions that are before the court. The court is not going to waste its time or go on a voyage of discovery like Father Christmas over matters that are not concretely before it.
Well, all right. In the meantime, the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, have accused the Independent National Electoral Commission of showing bias in favor of the president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, INEC, through its lawyers in a preliminary objection, had said that the relief sought by Peter Obi and his party challenging Tinubu's election victory are not grantable, and prayed the court to either dismiss or strike out the petition for being grossly incompetent, abusive, vague, nebulous, and more, while Peter Obi and his party, in a response to the petition filed on April 21st, faulted the electoral umpire for filing the preliminary objection and reprimanded the commission for not maintaining neutrality in the matter, further describing their action as an embarrassment. Well, the petitions are coming as the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima moved into the Defense House in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, on Wednesday, ahead of their inauguration in May. The Defense House is located in the Maitama district of Abuja. It will serve as a residence until Tinubu and Shettima take the oath of office on May 29th, after which they will move to the Aso Rock Villa. Tinubu is expected to receive briefings and hold key meetings at the residence. Both men were accompanied to the Defense House by Senate President Ahmad Lawan, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, among others. Rufai, over to you.
So a couple of things making the rounds. That's just a reflection of what is happening. Things are already going full throttle. Is moving into Defense House since he came back, getting ready for inauguration and all of that. All of that process is going. But there's also been a lot of, discordant tunes as regards even the case going on and all of that in court. And Peter Obi did say, INEC didn't show neutrality. But the truth has to be told. INEC needs to defend itself, in all of this, because INEC's role is to be able to defend the result it produced. But that will not take away from the conversation of the conduct of the election. But most of these things will be determined by the court. Did INEC break its own laws? That's the very first question we should ask. Did INEC said he was going to transmit and he didn't do the same? Because in all of this petition I've seen, the only counteraction, one of the counteractions I've seen was a newspaper clipping that was said that 2 days to the election, INEC said he was not going to transmit electronically. But does that newspaper clipping negate the hitherto announcement and even the Chatham House conversation that INEC said he was going to transmit electronically? It is the court that will decide all of that. So what INEC is doing here, yes, what INEC might have said, might be very vexatious on the part of Peter Obi, but INEC's role here is to be able to defend its own self in this election. And it has put out an arsenal. It said it's going to spend over 3 billion thereabout to defend itself across tribunals all over the country. But another bone of contention, I think also with this subject of interpretation will be as regards what the Supreme Court will rule about it. The case of perjury and all of that. Anyway, that has not been added to the case. But, hey, people can stretch it a little further. A lot of people have even put forth some rebuttals that even in the case of Gani Fawehinmi, that there was a hiding under the fact that he was already governor. And that's the fact that there was immunity for him, that has not been pressed further. Some people are also even talking about Section 137, subsection A, about, citizenship and all of that. But most of that has been cleared as regards cases that, the position of the law as regards. And I think we had that robust argument when we were even talking about the case of Omo Agege, when somebody was coming here to say Omo Agege held American citizenship and all of that. And we had to tell him that what the law's position is the fact on that is the fact that once you can have your Nigerian passport first, if you acquire any other passport, because the Constitution of Nigeria gives room for dual nationality, then you can still run for elective position in the office. I think the normative clause there is that section 28, when you even read section 137, that's what it keeps coming back to. But most importantly, I think the substance of the matter will be the procedure in court. Did INEC say the things he was going to do? And also other calculation discrepancy that has been pointed out. And like it's been enunciated even with the case of Obi Akpo, that Premium Tide did an exclusive report to discover that the result that INEC said was not the result on the IRF portal in Obi Akpo. But also, the court will be able to decide all of that.
Well, all right. We'll take another story. Billionaire businessman Femi Otedola, who has been likened to Carl Icahn, one of the most dangerous investors in the world for his shrewd business moves, has been making headlines after his recent acquisition of 6.3% shares in Transcorp, making him the second largest shareholder of the company behind UBA nominees. Well, before the acquisition, Transcorp was controlled by Tony Elumelu, the chairman of UBA, who took control of the company in 2012. Well, Otedola's acquisition has not only caused a significant stir in the Nigerian financial market, but has also generated controversy regarding the relationship between the two friends as they tussle to control the ownership interest in Transcorp. Well, Arise senior business anchor Bosan Umafaye spoke with Tony Elumelu, and here's what he had to say about his relationship with Otedola.
Femi Otedola is my very good friend.
That's good to know.
There are only two people I follow on the Instagram, my wife and Femi Otedola. That tells you the level of friendship that we have. And he's a man
you got to follow Arise.
Yeah.
You have to follow Arise News.
Okay, I will consider that. My team will advise. But he's a man I admire and I respect, and he's a friend. In fact, we actually call ourselves brothers. So I welcome Femi's, I call him FO or Otedola. I welcome his investment in Transcorp. Yeah. That is what we want. I mean, come on. People get sentimental and emotional at times for no reason.
But two of you are in similar business. He's into power business, you are into power business as well.
And what's wrong? There can be cross-holdings. You know, abroad, or even in Nigeria, we go on international road shows. What do? We go talk to investors to say, please come and invest in our companies. I'm happy to see an indigenous active investor community. I want to see, and I'm happy that Femi is investing locally, and he should be commended for that. You know, and I also welcome his investment in Transcorp, because the more people show interest in the activities, in the performance of the company, the more people invest in the company, the better for all shareholders.
All right. I mean, I really liked that comment by Tony Elumelu, because as you know, a lot of people had been commenting on social media, basically regarding their relationship. Femi Otedola and Tony Elumelu, as you know, as Tony has said, that he follows only his wife and Femi Otedola on Instagram. But I think the main idea is the fact that Femi Otedola has been known as one person who, you know, whatever he touches his hands on turns to gold. And I see that now there is more interest in Transcorp because of his investment at this point. And also the fact that, you know, like I said earlier, I likened him to Carl Icahn because he's been known for his hostile takeover in the corporate world. But I think that because Femi Otedola had done that deal with First Bank, and the fact that the way he took over First Bank, a lot of people thought that, you know, he wants to go into Transcorp to take over Transcorp. And there's also some side remarks about people saying maybe that's why Tony Elumelu came out to also give out this interview. But, you know, I'll take a tweet. When Femi actually bought the shares, you know, the conversation was online. I'll take a tweet from Morris. I think Femi had, you know, posted a picture of himself and his son on Instagram, and he wrote, this is from Morris, he wrote, Femi Otedola posts a picture of himself and his son having a 6 weeks vacation in New York City. Tony Elumelu comments under the post, enjoyment, I fainted. So this was the whole idea at the point when Femi first acquired the shares. But I really like the fact that Tony Elumelu has come out to comment on this story.
Well, you've already made all the comments that need to be made. The only thing about investors is that they add value. The value of the stocks that they, you know, put their money into goes up, as has been the case with Transcorp. With his investment, with Otedola coming onto the table, you know, the share value of Transcorp has gone up. I think it's now about $2.95 per share. And there are more possibilities. Hence, Mr. Tony Elumelu said all the right things.
Yeah.
He says he welcomes him. He says, you know, he's particularly happy that he's investing locally. And to your point about being, you know, an activist investor, you were using the word hostile investor. No, I think the better phrase in my view would be an activist investor.
I know, I had watched his documentary, and that was how they described him in his documentary.
Yeah,
so,
but let's say activist.
Absolutely.
Carl Icahn is also called activist investor. He goes in there, he increases the value, you know, he makes his own contribution, he moves on. And if you look at the example of Femi Otedola, he did the same with First Bank PLC, where he eventually became the largest single individual shareholder. He moved to Giregu, the power plant, where he has 90% of the shares. He went to Transcorp now, where he's the largest single individual shareholder. The UBA nominees has about 9-point-something%, but it's a corporate, investor. But it's a good thing. And I keep saying on this program, we keep watching how billionaires make their moves and make money. I think it's become a very interesting sport in Nigeria at this moment.
Absolutely. Well, all right. We'll take our final story. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, cast a stare on social media on Wednesday after revealing that the federal government will spend $1.2 million to rent 40 luxurious buses to be used for the evacuation of Nigerians trapped in Sudan. The news came after Alan Onyema, the chairman of Africa's largest private airline, Air Peace, had agreed to evacuate stranded Nigerians from countries surrounding Sudan for free. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission had disclosed that some luxurious buses arrived Sudan on Tuesday night, with more buses expected to arrive on Wednesday with the help of the National Emergency Management Agency and the Nigerian Embassy in Sudan. Well, the minister spoke on our nightly news program, and here's what he had to say.
For 5,500 is what the figure they were working with. And I think there were some people they were discussing with who could provide the transportation.
Sudanese nationals or?
I believe in Nigerian, actually. Some Nigerian, business people based in Sudan, yeah. And that they were negotiating with to transport this number of people that distance under those security challenges. And what they quoted for that journey, for that many people, for about 40 or so buses, was $1.2 million. So it's not about transporting them from Egypt out. So now, as of course things got more dangerous, and after the French convoy was attacked and so forth, obviously people are going to now start charging you more because the risks are greater and so forth.
Well, I guess the bone of contention is the amount of money that, the federal government wants to spend. A lot of Twitter users, people on social media are saying it's a lot of money, but I don't think it's a lot of money because, we need to get our Nigerians back. I'll take a tweet from Comrade. This person says, so federal government has this kind of money and somehow Alan Onyema still has to airlift them for free. So let's get this right. They use 1.2 million for the cheaper and shorter part of the trip and spend nothing for the more expensive and longer part of the trip. What a country. Well, Daniel wrote, the APC government spent $1.2 million to hire only 40 buses and used to evacuate stranded Nigerians from Sudan to Egypt. That's insane. But it's not surprising because the same federal government claims to have spent about $100 million feeding 10 million school children. This is the party promising renewed hope. What a joke. Rufai.
I think the problem is the fact that a lot of Nigerians have trust deficit about their government. So if their government says anything, they don't believe it. Why? Because there's been hitherto accountability problems of the past occasioned by massive corruption. And I think the government needs to be able to change this image because indeed it has a very bad image amongst Nigerians. Nigerians don't trust their government. How they're going to do it is going to be based on justice, accountability, letting things out the way it ought to be done.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. People don't trust the government.
Absolutely. And
that's why you see Nigerians don't come out to vote.
And that is the reason. But I'm glad that he has come to clarify that it is because of the fact that, the war is there and people are hiking up their prices. So I guess, Nigerians should understand that we need our people back home. Thank you both for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending.
Thank you very much, Ojy Okpe.
Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.